Welcome to Building Better Relationships with Chuck and Barb Lewis, equipping listeners and viewers with the biblical tools to conquer the difficulties faced in this life. Chuck has practiced crisis intervention since the 1980s and has been in ministry together with his wife Barb for over 20 years. They've taken the countless lessons and the knowledge they've acquired and have put them into this life skills class to share with you. We hope this blesses you.
We're so excited to join you today. I'm Chuck Lewis. This is my wife, Barbara. You can say hi.
I can?
You can.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking about a topic today that we have talked to a lot of people about through the years of doing this, teaching life skills and also, just helping couples have a better relationship. And the topic that we're talking about today is operating in the adult position versus the child position. Maybe some of you have already heard about that, and others, that's a brand new topic you've never heard of before. And we're going to be explaining what that means. And really, we all have reactions to different things that happen in life. And sometimes we react to things that I'm sure, I've heard this a lot. You probably have too. Man, you're acting just like a 10-year-old. What's the deal? And that's pretty accurate, really, in some cases, because sometimes our behavior is like a child when we're an adult and we're thinking, man, I can't believe I reacted that strongly. And I know I've been in situations with our marriage that I've reacted like a child, and I've looked back on that and I've thought, man, why did I overreact? Like
sure,
that.
we both have.
You ever had that experience where
yeah.
you felt like you overreacted?
Yes, overreacting and underreacting can both be signs of being in the child position.
Explain overreacting versus underreacting.
Well, your reaction to something can be way out of proportion to what just happened.
That's an overreaction.
That's overreacting. Yeah. And showing no emotion whatsoever would be underreacting.
Okay, so no emotion would be like just being quiet, people asking us what's wrong, and we say nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing happened, but something really big just happened.
Right.
But maybe it wasn't safe to show emotion when you were a kid.
Yes. And one of the things that we have really found is when you're in that child position, it feels like I can't do anything about it. I've got to stay in the child position. I've been doing this for years and years. So this is who I am. I cannot change.
Right. Yeah. But they might not even realize they're in the child position.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's why I love learning about this, because once how can you heal over something if you don't even know you're doing it? So I think it's good to learn about it and bring it to our attention so that when we realize it, maybe we can get back in touch with the adult in us.
There's a lot of word pictures that we like to use that help really explain a lot of the emotional things that we talk about on this program. And one of the word pictures that I like to use is one time I was repairing some sheetrock in our garage, and I had to take some pieces down to repair them. And in putting the new pieces back up, I knew that I had an air conditioning line running across the top of the wall, and it was going to be hidden behind the sheetrock. Mm-hmm. I knew approximately where it was, but I didn't take the time to know exactly where I needed to put the screw in the wall. Well, you've probably already figured out where I'm going with this. And what I did was when I screwed the top of the sheetrock, I screwed a screw in, and all of a sudden I heard this freon coming out of the air conditioner line from me screwing a screw right through the line. And there wasn't a thing I could do about it. And I don't know if you know this or not. Some of you probably do, that Freon is very expensive. So I saw dollar signs pouring out of that line.
Right.
So instantly I felt myself getting in the child position. And I remember feeling so irritated at myself for that mistake that I had made. And it could have been prevented if I'd just been a little more careful and taken a little more time to locate where that line was. Then I could have dropped down a little bit on attaching that sheetrock to the wall and wouldn't have even hit the line at all. But no, I had to do it quickly and try to get it done as fast as possible, because that was part of the child position too, of saying, I've got to get this done. I got to get it done in a hurry. Well, nobody was telling me that. Nobody was saying that to me, but subconsciously from a child, I heard that a lot. Get it done, get it done, get it done. And so that tape was running in my head. So I've learned that if I just will address that thought, and I will take a little more time, and if I feel myself being rushed with a project, that's my signal to just take a break. And I might sit down with a cup of coffee and just take a little break and think about it and analyze what I'm doing and what I need to do, what the next step would be.
Well, and didn't you feel like you were going to get in trouble?
Oh my goodness, that
the-
was huge.
The little kid in you feels like, oh no, I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
And you were afraid I'd be mad at you.
I
over
was
that.
afraid you'd be mad.
Yeah.
And that was the little kid, because I remember as the adult, when I did tell you what I had done, I remember you said something that just completely relaxed me. And you said, well, honey, that's why they call it an accident. I go, wow, I did not expect her to say that. She gave me grace
Yeah.
that I wasn't giving myself. And boy, some of you are listening to this and you can completely relate to this. So the lesson learned was we have to give ourselves grace. If you're not giving each other grace, you need to choose to give each other grace. It's not a feeling, but it's a choice at that moment. And you could be thinking, she could have been thinking the way I was, like, oh my goodness, look at how expensive this is going to be to repair this. And then you could have reacted in your child position, and then that would have caused me to even react more.
Right.
And then we would have possibly gotten into an argument over it, and our spirits would have been closed. We would have felt bad at each other, and then the outcome would have been feeling bad about how we handled that situation.
Well, and also if I had gotten mad and maybe treated you the way you were treated when you were a kid, if you made a mistake, that would have increased your wounding.
Oh, absolutely.
Whereas if I can just give you grace and let you know that you're not in trouble, then that contributes to your wounding. I mean, to your healing, that I can be part of the healing process instead of part of the wounding process.
Exactly.
But you also had a really hard time forgiving yourself.
Oh, totally.
For doing that. I remember we had to talk about it several times.
I really appreciated your grace, but it took me a process of time to give myself the grace. Because see, the child inside says, you don't deserve grace. You don't deserve mercy. All you deserve is judgment. And I remember even saying, look, I'll pay for this myself out of my own pocket. I'll do whatever I need to do to pay for this, because this is my mistake. This is what I did. You should not have to pay for this out of the general account. See, that's just the child too. So, the thing is, this is such a powerful topic that can be life-changing for our own lives and our relationships, and with our own kids, because sometimes our kids can make a mistake, and we can that can trigger our child within us. And then we can start shaming them and blaming them, and what were you thinking, and all this kind of stuff, which they're already feeling bad about. And then we put salt on the wounds, which make it even worse. So we want to encourage you, to acknowledge if you're having this kind of reaction, what to do about it. And we're going to be talking about what to do about it, because we don't want to just identify the reaction that maybe you can relate to and then have no solution for it. We want to really talk about the solution. So Barb, why don't you read the scriptures that we picked out to talk about this today?
Okay. 1 Corinthians 13:11. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. And James 1:4 says, but you must learn to endure everything so that you will be completely mature, not lacking in anything. Philippians 2:5 says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. So as Christians, we have the mind of Christ. And Jesus never went around shaming people. He wouldn't do that.
I mean, he spoke the truth to people, and he said some pretty incredible things that I'm sure it got very hot in the place where he was talking sometimes, but he never put them down. He never called them names. He never said you're a poor excuse with buttons and zippers and all that stuff. He didn't, really demean them.
No.
But God loves the sinner and he hates the sin. And there's a big difference. He looks at the sin as something that was done, but he doesn't connect the sin to the person. He redeems the person from destruction, thank God. And he removes the offense from them. That's what I love about the Lord. But this first scripture you read in 1 Corinthians talks about putting away childish things. Now, the way I read that is that's our choice then, to put away childish things, to speak to our mind and speak to our emotions and say, I will not live in the child position. I will not allow the childish thoughts and the childish reactions right now to control what's happening right now. And I might feel so ashamed that I'm starting to demean myself. And if I'm doing that, then I can demean others. I could demean you just as a reaction. I didn't feel bad that I demeaned myself and you later, but the damage is already done.
Well, I think it's important to realize that we don't always know that we're going into the child position. I think it depends on how much wounding we had as a child. We can actually do it unconsciously. One story to illustrate this, there was a lady that parked her car in the wrong place and snow fell on it and crushed the windshield. And the first thing she thought of is, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble. What am I going to do? And she went in and, cried to her husband about what had happened. And fortunately, he just reassured her that it was going to be okay and that he would give her a ride to work, and they just call the insurance company and get it fixed. But when she was in that child position, no options were in her mind. Like a child needs someone to problem solve for them, but an adult can do their own problem solving. So for a few minutes, she wasn't in the adult position. She needed somebody to take care of her. She needed somebody to comfort her and reassure her and help her problem solve. But she, when he did that, she was able to come back into the adult position, and then he took her to work and she made the phone call to the insurance company and got things set up to, get it fixed. But we just don't always know it's happening. If our parents were very critical of us when we were kids and we did get in trouble, maybe they told us we were stupid whenever we made a mistake, then we might have those same tapes going on in our head. I can't believe how stupid I was. Why did I park the car there? I made this stupid mistake. And then we don't think we just did something stupid. We think we are stupid.
Oh yeah.
And so, I think we don't always know what's happening.
Right. So we have to rehearse what to do in a crisis situation. And I call that practicing an emotional 911 situation, because we've been taught how to call, most people have anyway, have been taught when to call 911. If you smell gas in your house, or if somebody falls on the floor with a heart attack, or they're not responding to you, then you're taught to call 911. I think I've had to call 911 in my lifetime, throughout my entire life, maybe 3 times. But how many emotional 911s have we had? and we don't even practice for the emotional 911s. So if I never got taught when to call the actual number 911, I wouldn't know what to do even then. I mean, I've been in situations where I've seen people need to call 911, but they were walking in a circle because they weren't, the mind just wasn't connecting with what they needed to do.
Yeah.
And then somebody said, did anybody call 911? It never even occurred to them to call 911 because they've never practiced it. So I encourage you to even practice with your kids about when to call 911. They need to know that too, because if you're passed out on the floor, how are you going to call 911? And maybe your kids are old enough where they could call 911 and talk to the dispatcher. And dispatch is so good with kids, most of them are, to really find out what the address is and all those things. I've heard story after story where children have saved their parents' life because they called 911. So that's a very good thing to teach your kids, and a good thing for you to learn if you don't know how to call it. So an emotional 911 kind of works the same way. And if you're feeling like you're reacting in the child position, you can't really think of some adult ways to handle the situation. That usually means that all the blood is rushing out of your head into the large muscles of your body for fight or flight. So you're not going to be cognitively ready to handle that crisis. So as you practice and as you learn what to do, the blood remains in your head. So all kind of different ideas and creative ideas, come to your mind. Barb and I both have learned CPR, and we know how to administer CPR. Well, we had to go to a class to learn CPR. And some people say, oh, I'm too busy to learn that kind of stuff. Well, that's fine, but you never know when you're going to need it for each other, and you never know when you're going to need it for somebody else. It's very empowering to come up on a situation where somebody needs CPR and you know what to do. You know how to respond. And then family members are counting on you to know what to do, and while 911 is responding. So emotionally, we have to practice getting in touch with what our reactions are to different things. If I'm in the child position, what is that child saying? And one thing that, Barb, you have said to me whenever I've made a mistake, like the air conditioner thing, you've said, you are not in trouble. And boy, when you've said that, I just totally relaxed, because the child was reacting.
Yes.
So I know we barely scratched the surface to this. We're going to talk about more of this on another program here. But if you're experiencing this today, you can reach out to us. You can let us know what you're experiencing. Get on our website, and under prayer requests, you can fill out the request there about what you're going through, and we'll pray for you. And if you want a question if you want to ask a question on this program and don't want your name mentioned, just let us know that, and we'll address the question without mentioning your name. So we appreciate you being with us today. We look forward to talking to you next time.
If you are blessed by this ministry, please subscribe, like, and share. You can also make donations at chucklewisministries.com. Join us to keep uncovering the tools to build better relationships together. Let's do this again next week.